International Green IT Awareness Week, June 2012. Speaker Dominique Brack, Switzerland. My session today is about cloud computing, the latest greenwashing playing field, or why efficiency is not sustainability. Move to the cloud. It's good for the environment and climate. The cloud is green. Sounds like the easiest thing in the world. Move your IT infrastructure to the cloud and then sit back and bask in fiscal and environmental glory. Because of its alleged environmental friendliness, cloud computing has become the new turf of greenwashing and marketing slogans. Given the energy-intensive nature of maintaining the cloud, access to significant amounts of electricity is a key factor for a cloud computing infrastructure. I am also co-author of the book Greening IT. Check it out, it has some really interesting content. You can download the book for free on the International Green IT Awareness Week website. So go there, have a look. The agenda for today. I have structured the topic into 3 focus areas. Cloud computing under the radar. Achtung! Greenwashing alert. Something to think about. Sustainability is not efficiency. Sustainability explained. Learn to assess the different claims made. Setting the right green KPIs. The triple bottom line: economic, social and environmental. Tools and ideas for setting sustainable KPIs. Let's dive right into the first block. Cloud computing under the radar. Achtung! Greenwashing alert. This topic is at my heart. Sometimes there are so many misleading and false statements around in regards to sustainability, it really hurts. But let me explain and show you what I mean by that. Catchphrase competition. The cloud claims out of an ad just from today. So let's think about it and assess it later when we have covered all the areas. Keep it in the back of your head so we can assess later, is that right, is that wrong, or what do they actually mean by their claims. The claims often made with the cloud are green, environmentally friendly, sustainable, etc. But some of these claims are just blah, 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 blah. Greenwashing. Occasionally, a word or expression becomes so overused that it loses any real meaning, and people become cynical or sarcastic about its usage. There is an argument that this is exactly what has happened to the word green in the business world, as it is likely to be affixed to just about any business term imaginable. Green this and green that. My observation is that people are starting to suffer from a sort of green fatigue. I personally consider greenwashing to be a part of this problem. Historically, greenwashing is a term derived from whitewashing. Most everyone is familiar with the expression whitewashing, which is defined as a coordinated attempt to hide unpleasant facts, especially in a political context. Some say it's whitewashing, but with a green brush. When a company or organization spends more time and money claiming to be green through advertising and marketing than it does actually implementing green business practices, that's greenwashing. Why do businesses greenwash? The green facade could be diverting the attention of regulators and reducing pressure for regulatory change. Pleasing. Persuading critics that the business is well intended and or has changed its ways. Marketing. Expand market share at the expense of rivals that are legitimately trying to become greener. Image. An attempt to reduce the turnover of environmentally conscious staff or to attract more such staff. Shareholders. Make the company appear more attractive to investors. Socio-economic pressure. Companies feel pressured to outgreen one another. Creators of greenwash campaigns are very good at fooling activists, customers, journalists and politicians alike. Sorting out the green claims. What are they? Let's have a look. Green claims need to be specific. There should be no scope creep. If you look at the narrower scope, that's maybe a different picture than looking at the wider scope of things. Usually there is no proof to back up claims, or they're even irrelevant claims, or, as it happens, out and out lies. But here's some tips. Use common sense. If a company claims seem to be good to be true, they are probably. So don't be fooled by slogans, tear-jerking ads, or claims designed to seduce. Do your homework. All products have a hidden history. Do some research before buying into any green claim. Questions. Ask questions and demand documentation. If a company can't back up its claims with valid certification, audit reports, or any similar documentation, it's probably not telling the truth. Confirmation. So confirm the validity of industry associations. So there is no shortage of questionable regulatory industry associations that companies claim that are watching over them. Trustworthy. Look for trustworthy certifications. These include the EPA label, the Energy Star, the Eco logo and the Green Seal, for instance, and the Forestry Stewardship Council, for instance for wood and paper products, and so on. Then follow the money. Some businesses make private donation to group or interests that don't square with their public statements. But there may be secretly funding lawsuits, legislation and other measures to prevent them from having to-dos. Examine how the company handles its critics. That's a very important point. Some company will try almost anything to silence their critics. Tactics range from spouting legal threats to collaborating with police, etc. Obviously, such practices are not a good indicator of environmental practice. Sustainability is not efficiency. Sustainability explained. In the world of green IT or sustainable IT, there is a lot of learning to discover. Labels and marketing phrases hammer the world in a never-ending fashion. Seeing behind this lack of information, or rather misinformation flow, is crucial. There is no such thing as a zero CO2 emissions, or the complete absence of a footprint, specifically not in combination with electrical components and information and communication technology infrastructure. The following outlines the strategies for promoting environmental friendliness and sustainability in preferential order. Less is the most preferred, followed by efficiency initiatives, and the least preferred is offset. Creating less is by far the most sustainable approach. Efficiency is where organizations can test their ground. Typically the benefits are more tangible and the real ROI can be achieved, like cost saving, top line growth, etc. Offsetting is a service. The buyer pays another organization to reduce its greenhouse gas emissions in the buyer's place. Creating less is by far the most sustainable approach. Emissions and products not created will minimize impact from a full life cycle point of view. A product not created does not need to be recycled and disposed of at the end of its life cycle. This is contrary to the general direction of common businesses, where more usually is better and defines the economic success of an organization. Mature organizations are typically capable of realizing projects in this area because tangible ROI or direct financial benefits are often hard to see. The benefits achieved are less tangible. So in example, this could be reputational, CSR, corporate social responsibility, competitive advantages, board commitment, and customer demand. Efficiency. Efficiency is where organizations can test. Typically a tangible ROI can be achieved, so cost saving, top line growth, threshold demand, and access to capital. It is recognized that IT consumes significant amounts of energy. Specifically, data centers account for a large part of an organization's expenditures and energy consumption. For instance, air conditioning, the technology currently used by a large number of data centers, is based on room cooling. This is like cooling the whole kitchen in order to have a cool banana on your kitchen top. There is a lot of efficiency potential. Cooling needs to target the component requiring cooling, and in the end, this is the processor and the power supply. In the kitchen example, you would put the banana into the fridge. The next step would be to cool the banana directly with liquid pipes. It is analogous for the data center. Room cooling, row-based cooling, rack-based cooling, server-based cooling, and processor liquid pipe cooling are the most efficient ways of applying cooling technology. Offsetting. Offsetting is a service. The buyer pays another organization to reduce its greenhouse gas emissions in the buyer's place. Buying a carbon offset means investing in a project that reduces greenhouse gas emissions. The underlying idea of carbon offsetting is that greenhouse gases are distributed globally, and the impact of their emissions on global warming is therefore independent of the source. But some rather absurd practices have sprung from the companies creating these credits. For instance, with tree plantations in developing countries. Some of the problems are monocultures of trees, reducing biodiversity and environmental stability, or the planting of non-native trees, resulting in green deserts. Offsetting is a valid instrument for inducing behavioral change, since organizations react mostly on pecuniary stimuli. From an environmental perspective, this is the least preferred choice. Eventually, CO2 emissions may become a tangible company asset, like desks and computers. The catchphrase competition continued. After what we learned, let's go back to the claim of the cloud service provider. What is the cloud service provider referring to effectively? He's referring to efficiency. And by the way, he's not referring to your efficiency, he's referring to his efficiency. So, as we learned, sustainability means considering all the factors using less, efficiency and offset in this preferential order. Efficiency is a good start and admirable, but it is not sustainability. The cloud provider terms and conditions. The terms and conditions of many cloud providers are very similar. Basically, this means, in terms of business continuity, all data placed in the cloud must be duplicated outside the cloud in order to be resilient. Even if the cloud is 50% more efficient in its management of the infrastructure, doubling the data, respectively, still have the same data as a backup outside the cloud diminishes the efficiency enormously. Take this into consideration too. when you are assessing the cloud in terms of green or efficiency. Setting the right green KPIs. Triple bottom line. Economic, social, environmental. As sustainability, carbon and climate change initiatives become more widespread, CIOs are likely to be called upon to develop and report sustainability performance indicators, especially those with direct and material financial implications. These indicators are essential to meeting evolving disclosure requirements and effectively managing sustainability programs. I would like to involve you in the process of creating and developing an understanding of them. In this way, you will then be able to assess whether a certain KPIs are helpful or not. KPI metrics of applicability, the framework. With the framework, I want to introduce you to the concept of spheres of influence. Typically, your sphere of influence is based on your competency within your role in a given organization. A CIO sphere of influence is higher around strategic ICT decisions. A system administrator sphere of influence is focused on systems and technology. A company's influence is typically directed by the triple bottom line. The triple bottom line and the CSR principle, corporate social responsibility principles, encourage you to consider economic value, social impact, and environmental practices within your decisions. I deliberately widened the triple bottom line in the graphic. I wanted to incorporate the product life cycle from an environmental practice perspective into the company's corporate governance. In practical terms, this indicates that it matters where things come from, what they are made of, how much energy has been used to produce them, and how and where they are manufactured, their internal use, and how they disappear. In other words, how they are recycled and where the waste ends up. To me, this is exactly what green thinking is about. Let me first walk you through the framework so you know how it works and how you can apply it to different situations. You can use the framework for a process, a whole company, or even a service. It is very flexible and easy to use. It all starts with you, the company, and the triple bottom line. Now we will look at the product or service life cycle. The cycle starts with materials. Raw materials are necessary to produce a certain product. Resources are necessary to build a product or to generate energy. Energy is used to build a product, or energy is a product to be used for a service, electricity for instance. Manufacture is the combination of all the prior factors in order to produce a product, a server for instance. Forward logistic is called the forward logistic process. From a company perspective, this is the forward logistic process, or also referred as the supply chain. Utilization. Then comes the actual utilization of a product or service. Inside the company, this is the most visible action. What then follows is the reverse logistic process. After the end of life or discontinuation of a service or product, the reverse logistic process kicks in. Disposal recycling. The product or service will be disposed or recycled. Products. The remaining products will then be moved to waste. And finally, waste. The effective waste. mostly products which cannot be recycled or reused. E-waste, for instance. Now we combine the product or service life cycle with the internal company view. First put in the company, then put on the triple bottom line. But now I would like to extend the environmental factors out to the life cycle, and this is new. You could even extend social impact and economic value. Meaning you would also care who manufactures and under what circumstances your product will be produced. I'm now adding the rest of the framework. By now you have a good understanding about how to apply the framework and what I mean with extending the focus. Every activity that a business performs has an impact on social, economic or environmental level. These impacts are often not obvious or immediate. They may be merely hidden or indirect and only appear when you take a more holistic view. From an environmental perspective, the whole life cycle of a certain product or service is relevant. The life cycle looks at the total interrelationship from raw materials to manufacture, to the product throughout its use, and from disposal through recycling to create new raw material. Products have different environmental impacts at different stages of the life cycle. Aluminium, for instance, has a negative environmental impact when the raw material is extracted, but it is relatively benign when used or recycled. On the other hand, a printer will have its main impact during its utilization because of the consumption of consumables, paper and ink in this instance. In the realm of information technology, it is important to assess the impact of the products or services in use. From a risk and financial perspective, it is becoming relevant to consider the entire life cycle of the products and services you utilize. This means that if your product gets recycled incorrectly and ends up dumped in third world countries, the company may find itself in a reputational and financial disaster. But now, let's apply the framework to the cloud and see behind how cloud services are working. Here we see the cloud, looked at only from a utilization point of view. When taking this view, like the cloud service provider do when they claim sustainability, then the cloud is all about efficiency. The cloud service providers most definitely have the most up-to-date and high-tech infrastructure. It's their economic value. This makes them money, making things more efficient than others, and sell this. But let's have a look inside the cloud and map the cloud services to the KPI metrics of applicability framework. What is behind the cloud? The engine that drives the cloud is the data center. Data centers are the factories of the 21st century information age, containing thousands of computers that store and manage our rapidly growing collection of data for consumption at a moment's notice. These cloud data centers consume a tremendous amount of electricity. Unfortunately, most cloud service providers are rapidly expanding without considering how their choice of energy could impact society. Instead of linking their IT innovation to equally innovative clean sources of electricity, many IT companies are simply choosing to attach their modern information factories to some of the dirtiest sources of electricity, supplied by some of the dirtiest utilities on the planet. These utilities, unlike the IT companies, are not known for their innovation, driving significant new demand for both coal, nuclear power, in many regions of the world. Mapping the cloud to the KPI metrics of applicability framework looks the following. As you can see, this gives a much broader view, more holistic view of the cloud for yourself. Taking the complete life cycle of the cloud service into consideration can change the perception about if the cloud is sustainable, green, or environmentally friendly or not. Aside from the service itself, often forgotten is how a cloud is powered and what type of resources the utility use for the production of electricity, and how cloud infrastructure e-waste will be disposed of. Let's have a look at some KPIs you can consider for cloud services. KPIs with a broader, more holistic view and a real environmental impact. After all, if you let the cloud providers know what's important, they will have to follow over time and offer you a choice of energy source, for instance. Which KPIs make sense? First, looking at the grid mix, try to ascertain what type of mix the cloud provider has for his services. What may help you there is the Greenpeace Clean Energy Index, but more on this a bit later. Secondly, does the cloud provider has e-waste disposal guidelines? Is he responsibly handling the hardware after the life cycle? Then thirdly, move from a pure PoE view to a broader CoE view. Moving from a power intensity to carbon intensity. But let me explain. What is PoE? PoE was designed to provide an efficiency benchmark for data center operators to measure the relative consumption of electricity within the data center between the computer's power demand and that of the entire data center surrounding it, which would include lighting, chillers and other handling equipment needed to keep the computers running. The PoE is in fact the total facility power divided by the IT equipment power. Up until recently, a PoE of 2 or more was average, indicating a data center where nearly 50% of the demand is being directed to equipment other than the computers inside. But nowadays, with the very high efficient data centers, they are increasingly reporting a PoE between 1.1 and 1.6, which is highly efficient. Another severe limitation of PoE as an indicator of environmental performance is that the figure is totally unrelated to the carbon content of the electricity being consumed. What does it mean? For example, if a data center is largely powered by renewable energy but has a poor PoE, it will still contribute significantly less pollution than a data center largely powered by coal but with a much lower PoE. In response to a growing desire to have a standardized method to reporting carbon intensity of data center operations, the Green Grid recently adopted CUE, the Carbon Usage Effectiveness, which provides a carbon per kilowatt hour intensity measurement. CUE has been a standard for well over a year, and yet only one company, Akamai, is publicly reporting its CUE. Others are beginning to track and pledge to report CUE in the coming year. While some companies currently would have the data available, the aggregated data on COT per kilowatt hour, none of them are willing to share this figure due to fear of competitiveness. Then fourth, the Greenpeace Clean Energy Index. Greenpeace released a very interesting report. How green is your cloud? report from April 2012. This year's update, the analysis has expanded to examine a total of 14 global IT companies who are leading the sector's move to the cloud. The report is an assessment of these providers with insight into the sources of energy they use, their efficiency, and other parameters. From a KPI perspective, you can also use this report to benchmark the service providers. Zero carbon footprint doesn't exist. There is no such thing as a zero carbon footprint, especially not for electrical components. Even if you are dead, you create emissions, either through cremation or through carbonization in the ground. Thank you. During my professional life, I have seen a lot, the good and excellent and the bad and ugly. Exceptional leaders and organizations have one thing in common: individuals make the difference. Green IT and other environmental considerations are topics requiring true leadership and vision. Set a new standard. Be bold and innovative. Become the new sustainability ambassador of your organization. I hope with my session I could provoke thought and inspire you to take your first steps into a more environmental friendly way of doing business. Thank you again, and please stay tuned for a Q&A session following the presentation.